Who do you think works out the hardest in the Beyblade Burst show? Was it Frida La Jolla lifting that boulder with vault? Is it completing the 100 Blader challenge from SB Rios? Or perhaps it's Luis Shirosagi's exercise machine? Who is the strongest Blader anyway? This guy. Well, from the show Naruto, in one of the most memorable scenes in my opinion, when Rock Lee reveals that his garments are in fact weighed to help him train his strength, unleashing an immense power-up when he took them off. Well, that's exactly how some of the most skilled bladers, including Frida La Jolla, Shu Kurenai, and even Ryuga, have been training right in front of your eyes. So even when they're not working out, they're getting stronger by the second. Now, not all the bladers in the anime do this though, but the strongest ones tend to. Bell Dezra is one of those bladers who wears weights in his garments. His armband, which I theorize is weighed to help him train his launch. It helps him have superior control of his launch. But how? And more importantly, should you do it too?
Luis Shirosagi tried this method in the 5th and 6th season of Beyblade Burst 2, and it's quite effective. I'll tell you more about it later in the video because heck, even
Ryuga and Jinga have trained like this too, you know. What, did you think that's padding inside Jinga's gloves? Or that Ryuga's golden launcher is supposed to be light? Far from it. How heavy is Ryuga's launcher anyway? Well, gold is one of the heaviest and densest metals in the world, being twice as dense as lead, making it a very heavy metal indeed, especially at that size. Now, I found this one, which is obviously for cosplay and probably made of plastic. But for comparison, in Dubai, a Guinness World Record was made with a ring weighing over 62 kilos. That's nearly 140 pounds. And imagine carrying that in one hand. So this is me lifting 30 pounds, and I cannot imagine walking around all day with this. Ryuga's bangle is more usually referred to as his launcher gauntlet, and it covers almost his whole forearm. So I venture to say that this is even heavier than 60 pounds.
If you recall, Kai used arm guards similar to Ryuga's on both arms and rarely takes them off, as we see in this rare scene. If you're wondering though, Jinga works out twice as much as Shu, since he's often seen wearing only one glove. These even look like Jinga could be wearing them right now.
Now, before you go out and buy a wrist weight or ankle weight, which I have linked down in the description below. Now, I want to warn you, because you do remember what happened to Shu Kurenai, right? His shoulder injury could be better understood now that we know that his glove is weighed down. Even an excess of 3 pounds on your wrist can have severe strain on your joints and tendons when you're swinging it around in this way, just like bladers do in the show. But did you know Shu didn't always have his glove? When he began blading, he didn't have it, as we are shown in a flashback. We see that in his battles and in training in the first 2 seasons, he places this special glove on the arm that moves, potentially giving him more power. Okay, tell me I'm not the only one that was wondering about why Shu has this Chungus glove on him. And he even switched sides once. That means that he has both gloves, you know. When Shu became Red Eye, his outfit consisted of armor plating for his chest and on one shoulder only, choosing to launch with one hand. My guess is that he's working on his injured shoulder again because he felt weak. He then stopped wearing it in the Turbo season. He must have felt a little bit more comfortable, I guess. And we see this in his battles in the Dread Tower, only to bring out his Beyblade Gauntlet once more in the Beyblade Burst Surge season, probably because he felt he still needed to train on his weak shoulder after witnessing Lane's immense growth and power. You can purchase ankle and wrist weights to imitate this effect at home too, because if you do it in moderation, you can get a good workout for your shoulders too. Now this will help increase the steadiness of your launch. The right way to do this is by using the weight on the arm that holds the launcher, not the arm that's pulling the cord or string. And of course, making sure to switch sides to avoid injuring yourself. But this is hardly a workout, because if you do it only while you launch, you're hardly ever doing it at all. Which reminds me, if you want to get stronger, why not lift the boulder, do chin-ups, or use weights like Jinga and Wakia? In the Beyblade show, who works out the hardest? Who is the strongest character physically? And while many of us will look at Xander and conclude that due to his physique, he is the strongest, and that may be so, I want to also look at the training styles and workouts in the Beyblade show. This spans countless episodes and various seasons, so I'll obviously be missing out some of the characters' workouts. If you know an episode in which we see other bladers working out, let us know in the comments which season and episode so we can all see it too. We'll be starting with the isometric exercises. This is like what we see Xander and Frida La Jolla do, along with many others, but the biggest downside is that it's limited or limiting by one's own weight. And this is a good way to use the ankle weights to add more weight and stability to your workout. But don't worry if you can't do a handstand, because we can start building shoulder strength with a plank, wall sit, or isometric push-ups. It's basically pausing at the top and bottom of the push-up. Now, if you fancy a gym membership, I don't personally go to one, and if I did, it would have to be one that can afford to buy or make equipment like we see in the Snake Pit or in the Raging Bulls or BC Soul. Or more fancy still is Louis, who has his private gym in his private island with the launch training machine, which by the way wouldn't work in real life because we don't actually launch just like they do in the anime, unless you have a modified launcher like I do. All that being said, Jinga, Iger, and Xavier use weights in the show to build their muscle mass. And it's no secret that with weight training, you have more control over the muscles you want to work on. If you're a Shu fan though, I know you know he loves to run. Training for cardio by running or even power walking improves your overall health, being beneficial to your heart rate and blood pressure. And you might be like, yo, Beyblade Dad, why is blood pressure good for blading? Well, my fellow blader, it's because improved blood flow will help your body receive the nutrients it needs, especially your brain. But if you feel like you don't have the time or perhaps the ability to run far, there's something called calisthenics. If you don't or can't join a gym, buy weights or any equipment you can train at home by doing simple exercises like these planks. If you do these as long as your Beyblade spins, this will train your core, which will help your launches. But good luck if you have stamina types though. Okay, so now that you have some tips to get healthy for this summer, I've been wondering, throughout the Beyblade franchise, who works out the hardest? Was it Xander battling the 100 Bladers? Was it Free de la Hoya when he works out with a boulder? Or was it Louis Shirosaki's launch exercise machine? Like I mentioned before, this machine won't give you a precise workout for your launch. Louis' machine is mostly for training his back, shoulder, and trapezius. That's these muscles here. These are all muscles that can be said to help your launch, but only because you launch with your arm. I have made a contraption that may help you train in real life, which I think works more efficiently to train your launch, and that's by using 2 Hasbro launchers, elastic bands, and glue. I added tension to the ripcord, and this may not make you as strong as Louis or Iger, but in real life, this wouldn't either. When it comes to strength, in my opinion, Free de la Hoya takes the prize for working out the hardest, because no matter how many battles Xander has,
or how many wrist weights Shu wears, they just don't add up to the weight of the boulder that Free lifts above his head.
A boulder that's about 4 feet in diameter, like the one we see Free holding. It would weigh as much as 2 tons. That's about 4,000 pounds. And that's how strong Free is.
A close second for the hardest workout is Louis, Iger, and Dante while they're using the launch exercise machine. If we notice from the beginning of the Beyblade Burst show, Louis kept adding more resistance wires as the season progressed. By the end of the quad drive season, the machine had 5 wires in total. It's hard to tell just how much weight the machine is simulating, but we can assume that each wire has a resistance of about 500 pounds, which is completely unheard of in the real world. But that would amount to about 2,500 pounds of force. As Kit said about Free, he works out his body more than anyone else.
Free trains his body more than anyone else.
But not only him, because Vault has lifted the boulder, and in a flashback from Beyblade Burst Turbo's episode 14, Kit Lopez is seen training with a boulder as well in order to surpass Free de la Hoya.
But now it's your turn to start challenging yourself, your family, and your friends to get outside and start the day with running like Shu. Do push-ups like the Asahi brothers or chin-ups to increase your overall strength when launching.
Let's not forget that using these weighted gloves can make for a sturdy launch without fancy machines or boulders. Now, I've left the best for last because I was wrong about Belle's armband, as instead of being weight, it's just a tight band, and it could be considered a BFR, which is the easiest way to build muscle. A BFR, or blood flow restrictor, is a new method to overtrain your muscles while working out, and even when you're doing nothing at all. And that's why Belle never takes it off, even when he's not blading. He's still getting toned. Now, if you already work out though, you can also learn how to master your resonance here. And remember that
some people would have you believe that any kind of workout would be negligible when it comes to Beyblade. But I think that they're just missing the point. We don't work out to become a strong blader. We work out to become the best bladers. Just like Vault, Iger, and maybe this Beyblade Dad.